Hi friends, welcome back to my channel. This video has got to be one of my favorite videos of all time. So if you're looking for a very fall, very aesthetically pleasing book video recommendation, look no further because this is the video for you. If you want cozy, if you want pumpkin spice lattes, if you want small town romance with a dash of magic, maybe some witches, maybe a talking cat, maybe a romance that has paranormal or a romance that has talking animals, then look no further, friends, because this is a video for you. For today's video, we will be talking about all the books that I read, whether it's last year or just recently, that have the fall aesthetic, fall type of books that are in your face with cozy feels, coffee, falling leaves, that takes place in the fall or the autumn season. Just feel good reads. This is it. This is the video. Obviously, these are books that I have read, but not only have I read them, I have lived, laughed, and loved every single one of these. Every single one of these books is going to have a very deep fall aesthetic backdrop, which I don't know about you guys, but when it comes to the fall season, towards the end of August, in the beginning of September and November, I don't like to read dark gothic books. I like to read fall cozy books with a lot of pumpkin spice lattes, a coffee shop, bakeries, bookstores, talking cats, talking animals, you name it, anything that gives you that cozy feeling. Those are the kind of books I crave. Also keep in mind that these books, like I mentioned, I've enjoyed so much that you're not going to see a book in here that has a rating of a 3.75 or lower. All of these books I've rated 3.75 or above. Most of these are 4 or 5 star reads. Before we get into the video, if you haven't already, please don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button. That way you never miss another one of my videos. And if you haven't already subscribed, this is the time to do it because fall, it's my favorite season of all time, and I always like to plan a little bit of extra fall videos and content for you guys. Okay, so let's begin. I have a total of 17 or 18 books in front of me. I am so pleased to say that I love every single one of these books. Now, keep in mind, this is my opinion. I love these books because of the way that they make me feel. The writing on some of these are not a work of literature. These are just fun, quick, fast-paced reads that are set in the fall, that give you the fall cozy feelings, that just make you feel happy in this time of the year. Let's start off with the first cozy mystery that I read last year, and that is Murder by the Book, a beyond the page bookstore mystery by Lauren Elliott. I mean, come on. If you haven't read a mass market paperback cozy mystery yet, I suggest that you do because it's the perfect time of the year right now to read something like this. This is full of a book's cozy mystery vibe. It's set in the fall autumn season. There's a bookstore and there's also a murder to be solved. I mean, what more can I say? At times, was it a little cheesy? This is probably the cheesiest book out of my whole stack, but nonetheless, the fall backdrop, the atmosphere of it, the mystery, the cozy vibes, it's all there, and it's gonna bring you excitement just because of where it's set and all the autumn aesthetics that you can have. Let me read you the back of this and the first sentence of this book because it's perfect. Addie left some painful memories behind in the big city, including the unsolved murder of her fiancé and her father's fatal car accident. After an unexpected inheritance from a great aunt, she's moved to a small New England town founded by her ancestors back in colonial times and living in spacious Greybourne Manor on a hilltop overlooking the harbor. In New England, on a manor? Come on, you guys. Best of all, her aunt also left her countless first editions and other treasures, providing an inventory to start her own store. But there's trouble from day one, and not just the grumpy woman who runs the bakery next door. A car nearly runs Addie down. Someone steals a copy of Alice in Wonderland, then Addie's friend Serena, who owns a nearby tea shop, is arrested for killing another local merchant. The police seem pretty sure that they've got the story in hand, but Addie's not going to let them close the book on this case without a fight. Again, small town, cozy feels. There's a manor that she lives in. She owns a bookstore. There's a tea shop and a bakery next door. There's a murder to be solved. And there's also a little bit of romance in here. I'm going to see what book 2 has to offer, but this was fun. This was a good introduction to a cozy, cheesy mystery set in the fall. And also, the first line of the page says, Addison Greybourne breathed in the intoxicating sense of tangy sea air and New England autumn leaves infused with the comforting aroma of fresh baked bread. Read it. Next up, we have In the Company of Witches by Aurora Wallace. This is again another cozy mystery. It has a little bit of more serious tones to it, but still the fall aesthetics is there. We have a cute cat. We also have a crow by the name of Dog that is just causing trouble at all ends. In this story, we're following a witch and her aunts who happen to own a bed and breakfast, and everything is perfect until one day, one of the most grumpiest customers that they could ever have ends up being murdered in this bed and breakfast. The story goes from there as our main witch, Brienne Warren, is trying to help solve this murder mystery because the bed and breakfast is owned by her aunt, and one of her aunts is accused of murdering this customer. So this book has a lot of very fun, cozy fall vibes, but it also discusses grief and the loss and what someone goes through when they lose their spouse. So it is on the more serious side, but again, the fall aesthetics is there. It's cozy, it's comforting. I didn't guess the murder mystery. It wasn't too predictable, and it was fun. The next two books are part of the same series. The next book in the series is coming out, I think, in December, and I think it's got like a Christmas vibe to it, so I'm super excited to read it. And if you haven't read these books, I'm sure you've seen them around. They're very popular, especially for this time of the year. If you haven't read these books already, you guys, it's more than criminal at this point, okay? The X Hex and the Kiss Curse by Aaron Sterling. If you want Halloween town vibes, curses that go wrong, witchy, cozy vibes, and also a talking cat that says the most vulgar things ever by the name of Sir Percival, then you want to be reading these fall. So this one we're following Vivian. Vivian is going through a breakup right now. She is dying of a broken heart. So what does she do? What does anybody do when they're taking a nice bubble bath with a scented candle and maybe some vodka involved? She decides to put a hex on her ex. To put a curse on her ex and make him pay for her broken heart. Obviously, the curse goes wrong and the story goes from there. I'm calling this a second chance romance, enemies to lovers, but again, if you want a book that is so heavy on the fall aesthetic, you want to read this series, okay? These are fun, witchy, there's always a mystery involved, it's not cheesy, it's got romance, it's steamy. Out of the two, this one's actually my favorite because of the way that she hexed her ex, because of the way that she cursed her ex in a bubble bath by a Bath and Body Works candle. The way that this book starts is just so fun that you can't help but to keep reading and just be enthralled in the magic that this series offers you. The next book in that series is The Kiss Curse. This one's following Gwen, which is Vivian's cousin, and Gwen happens to own a cute little witchcraft shop that caters to humans and those that don't really possess magic or are witches. So she sells like cute knickknacks, candles, fake wands, bubble bombs. And she's the one that owns Sir Percival, the talking cat that was cursed. And we will find out why, but he was cursed, and now all the cat says just belligerent, vulgar, bad words every single time the cat gets a chance to say them. Anyways, she owns this cute little witchy shop, and its business is doing great, except for when Wells Penhallow, which basically is part of the family that owns the entire town and businesses, he decides to establish his family's connection a little more. And how does he do that? By opening a shop similar to Gwen's right across the street from her. So this is an enemies to lovers, friends to lovers romance. And again, it follows the same town, the same theme. We got witchy vibes. We have cozy mystery involved. Something happens to Gwen's magic maybe, but this was again another fun time, and these are the books that I recommend to read as soon as you're in the mood to read a fall cozy witchy book. These are the books that you should read first, hands down. There's a next book that's coming out, and it's called The Wedding Witch, and this is book 3 in this series. I'm gonna put the picture up here, but this one has Christmas trees in the background, so this one I'm assuming takes place in Christmas. The perfect thing about this book is that it comes out October 15th. Okay, so we are gonna have it before the holidays, and I'm so excited because I will be reading it this year. This book actually opened the doors for me to the endless possibilities of reading something out of my comfort zone. The reason why this book was out of my comfort zone is because it was an introduction to cozy fantasy for me, and with that you have all different types of goofy animals and creatures and magic. It was perfect. It was the perfect introduction for me to fall head over heels in love with this type of genre. genre. That is, of course, Legends and Lattes by Travis Baldree. There is a second book in this series, but this one is very heavy on the fall themes and fall aesthetics. We got an orc, we got romance, we got pastries, we got a coffee shop, we have lattes, we have cinnamon rolls, we have a bakery assistant mouse by the name of Thimble. You guys, if this doesn't scream fall, I don't know what does. This was so good. I intend to reread it. I'm so sad that I think this series is complete. I think it's only a duology, and I don't think Travis Baldree has any plans to create a third book in this series, but this was so fun, perfect atmospheric. We got so much baking. We have so much coffee. It is a work of art, okay? It is the perfect personification of what it means to read a cozy, fall-themed fantasy, okay? And I loved it so much. We're following Viv, and Viv is an orc, and she's tired. She's tired of battling and fighting and the gore that comes with that. So what does she do? She hands in her sword, and she decides to move to a small town, and the best town ever with the best characters, and she wants to open a coffee shop. And in here you learn with her what coffee is, how to make coffee. In this story, she recruits, people to help her with this coffee shop. There's a little romance with one of her employees that helps her make the coffee and run the coffee shop. There's also, again, a cute mouse that does all the baking, the cinnamon rolls, the croissants, the biscuits, and his name is Thimble, and we love it. And you just follow her and her story and what it means to her to open up this coffee shop when in this time, in this little town, nobody knows what coffee is, but does everybody end up loving it once they discover what it is? She creates new drinks that we all know could be as simple as a vanilla latte to more iced drinks and iced coffees, and it's just so magical and so wonderful. Again, it's one of those books, if you haven't read it already, what are you doing? This is definitely a must. Every fall you need to read this book and the series. Now we're moving on to vampire books. Okay, I have 3 to mention in here that are set in the fall that have really great cozy vibes, that also have romance in them, and they have vampires. So the first one is actually a graphic novel. It's my only one. I haven't read many, but this one is just so cozy and comforting, and it's perfect. It's perfect not only for you as an adult, but it's also perfect to read to your kids because it's just everything. All the cozy vibes are there. And the story is ironic, and I will tell you why. Garlic and the Vampire by Bree Polson. The colors in this book are just beautiful. The art is just stunning, okay? Stunning. And in this one, we are following a very timid, very quiet, very scared little creature by the name of Garlic. They live in this cute little town. It's a town of vegetables that is run and created by a witch herself. In this story, they happen to realize that there is a bloodthirsty vampire that moves up the hill in this isolated mansion. And so the townsfolk, because nothing happens in this town, what do they decide to do? They decide to recruit Garlic herself, which is the most timid, the most scared creature in this entire village, to go and investigate, because hence we all know that vampires appalled and afraid of Garlic, and Garlic is deadly to them. They send cute, timid, shy little Garlic to go and investigate to see if this vampire is actually a bad vampire or a friendly neighbor. And the story goes from there. It's so good because it teaches you how to be courageous in moments in your life where you shouldn't be courageous, and how you can't just judge a book by its cover only because she is Garlic and she is a repellent to vampires. It doesn't mean that she is not afraid. It also teaches you that you face your fears in the most unique way, and it also teaches you about friendship. So this was comforting, cozy, fun, and I loved every bit of it. Next up, I have Bride by Ali Hazelwood. Now, I know some people don't like this book, but I really enjoyed it. This is a paranormal fantasy romance about a werewolf and a vampire, and that's it. And it's good, and it's perfect, you guys. It's very atmospheric. It can be a little dark at times. It's also steamy. In this book, we're following Misery and Lo. Misery is the daughter of a very powerful vampire council in the town. Lo is the alpha male to the werewolf pack. In this world, vampires and werewolves do not get along. They do not like each other. And if something happens between the two, there will be bloodshed. Keep in mind too, there's also a little bit of political intrigue in this book. There are also humans living in this world, so there is some political intrigue. So one day, Misery's father thought it was a good idea that in order to end this feud that the vampires and werewolves have, that he decided he would marry off his daughter Misery to the male alpha in the pack. And it's their romance. The story goes from there. How silently thoughtful the main male character Lo is in this book, and the little things that he does for her to show his affection towards her without even having to say that he is really into her was just everything. This book was so good. I thought the romance was really good. I thought the banter was good, and I thought Misery was a very strong female character, and we all love to see that. We have a cute little paranormal rom-com, and that is My Roommate is a Vampire by Jenna Levine. This one is a romance about a vampire and a human who is looking for a place to live. She's not making a lot of money. She can't afford a lot. This also takes place in Manhattan, so you have those dark, gloomy vibes that Manhattan has to offer you set in this time of year. Anyways, Cassie, our main character, who happens to be human, is looking for a place to live. She can't afford much living in Manhattan, but she just is desperate because she has nowhere to live. And Frederick J. Fitzwilliam, who happens to be a vampire, is looking for a roommate. It's their romance. It's funny, it's quirky, it's cheesy at times, but in the best way. It shows you what love is between a vampire and a human and how clueless the main character could be sometimes, because as soon as she moves into this unbelievably beautiful Victorian style penthouse manor type of thing, she notices one day that there's blood in the fridge. And she also realizes that her roommate is not only the best roommate because he's very quiet, he keeps to himself, but he sleeps a lot during the day, and at night is when he's awake. So again, it's their romance. It's perfect. It's perfect for the fall. I have a series that I fell in love with this year. I recently read these books this month, with the exception of one, because I'm still continuing the series, and I am obsessed with this world, with these characters, with this small little village, with the mysteries. I'm talking about the Shady Hollow series by Janu Black. Now, I only have books 3 because I'm slowly pacing myself, but this is a 6-book series. In between the first 4 or 5 books, you have little novellas that are attached to this series. This is the only one so far that I haven't read. This is book 3, and what makes this series so magical, you guys, is that we're following a small little town set in the forest in between mountain plains, and we're following creatures within that forest, and there's always a murder mystery to be solved. If these books don't give you the cozy feels that you are craving in the autumn or in the fall season, I don't know what does. Some people may say that the writing is very dry, but we're not here for, again, an exceptional writing style. We're here for the vibes, for the cozy mystery, for the cute animals that live in this town, that live in this quiet, peaceful town, but for some reason, all of a sudden we have murder involved, and some of these murders are grotesque, you know? And so I love the series so much. I'm so addicted. These are so fun to read in the fall. They are short, quick, they're under 300 pages. Are some more predictable than others? Yes, but you just love the town. You love the creatures in it. There's no magic, but we do have animals and creatures that are kind of playing the role of regular people in a small town. The first book, Shady Hollow, we're following Vivian Fox, and she's a reporter in this town. It turns out that the most grumpiest toad was found murdered at the end of the pond. Because she's a reporter, she's very nosy, and she's got that fox-like personality where she snoops around to get the best story, and it's her trying to solve this murder along with the town sheriff Bear. And we have a bear that's a sheriff, we have a fox that's a reporter, we have a raven that owns a bookstore and it's called Nevermore Books. We have a moose, the most gentle giant beast that you could ever encounter in a cozy book, and he owns a coffee shop by the name of Joe's Mug. You guys, it's perfect. It's so atmospheric. It's perfect. It's cozy. The story is set in the bookstore or the coffee shop a lot because it's a small town. These folks like to meet up at a coffee shop and discuss interviews or talk about mysteries. They like to go to the bookstore, and it's so perfect. Again, this is a 5-star, hands down series for me, and I haven't even finished it. The second book in the series is Cold Clay, and in this one we're following our gentle moose coffee owner Joe, and there's a mystery behind something that is tied to him, and I'm not going to tell you what, but it was so good. It was so cozy. This book, I believe we're following the sheriff. I don't know what this one's about, but we're following the sheriff, the bear sheriff of the town, and these are just so fun, you guys. If you're going to read anything this year aside from the rest of this list, but aside from Legends and Lattes, you need to jump on this bandwagon because it is so fun. Pair it with the audiobooks. It's just perfect. It's intriguing. They're slow paced at times, but the aesthetics and the cozy vibes are there. They're just magical to me. They're wonderful. I love these books so much. Then another one of my most recent reads is The Pumpkin Spice Cafe by Lori Gilmore. I think this came out last year, and the second book in the series just recently came out called The Cinnabon Bookstore, I think. And if this doesn't scream fall, if this doesn't have everything and anything and then some when it comes to a cozy fall book, I don't know what does, you guys. This is so perfect. This book was everything. We have a coffee shop. We have a small town. We have fall festivities. We have romance. We have a grumpy farmer. What more would you want to ask for? In this story, we're following Jeannie. Something happened to her in the city life, in her corporate job, that just kind of made her wake up and smell the coffee, in a sense of like, she doesn't want to live her life that way. She doesn't want to die that way and feel like she's left alone in the world. And so she decides to pack up and move to Dream Harbor, this small little town set in England, because her aunt owns the Pumpkin Spice Cafe. Her aunt kind of wants to retire. She wants to go travel. She wants to be in the sun, maybe in front of the beach somewhere, drinking a pina colada. And she proposes to her niece that maybe you can be the owner of the Pumpkin Spice Cafe and own my coffee shop because I'm done. I want to retire. So Jeannie takes her offer. She moves into this small town. She gets acquainted with the townsfolk. She tries to run the coffee shop. We've got baking, we've got coffee. We also have the town's grumpy farmer who is also the handyman, and it's perfect, you guys. It's so perfect. I love this book so much. I had such a great time reading it. You need to read it this fall. Next up, I have two magical realism books that are just perfect. They have paranormal elements to them, and this author's writing, not only are her stories magical, but I feel like her writing itself is magical. It's captivating, it's interesting, it's beautiful, it's lyrical. What more can I say? It's comforting, it's cozy, but there's elements and tones of seriousness in every single one of her books. We have characters that are dealing with grief, heartache, loss, things like that that are sprinkled in along with paranormal elements to it. They're perfect for the fall. We have The Dead Romantics and also The 7-Year Slip by Ashley Poston. This was my very first Ashley Poston book. I freaking loved this so much. We have Funeral Home, a small town, a girl that talks to ghosts, possible love with a ghost, a ghostwriter. Florence Day is the ghostwriter for one of the most prolific romance authors in the industry, and she has a problem. After a terrible breakup, she no longer believes in love. It's as good as dead. When her new editor, a too handsome mountain of a man, won't give her an extension on her book deadline, Florence prepares to kiss her career goodbye. By then, she gets a phone call she never wanted to receive, and she must return home for the first time in a decade to help her family bury her beloved father. For 10 years, she's run from the town that never understood her, even though she misses the sounds of warm southern night and her eccentric, loving family and their funeral parlor. She can't bring herself to say her father's gone, yet everything else feels the same, and she hates it, until she finds a ghost standing at the funeral parlor's front door, just as broad and infuriatingly handsome as ever. And he's just as confused about why he's there as she is. I'm not going to read you the end because it kind of gives away something. I just want you guys to be surprised, but this is so magical. It's also heartwarming and cozy, but there's paranormal elements, there's ghosts, there's a funeral, there's also grief and loss, and it's just, the romance is perfect. It's beautiful. I loved this so much. Then of course we have The 7-Year Slip. This one, again, very fall themed, I mean, look at this. Look how beautiful this cover is. And we're following Clementine West, and she has just gone through loss because her aunt passed away, and she's going through this grief and loss and depression type of state when somebody loses a loved one because she's very close to her aunt. Her aunt leaves her beautiful Victorian apartment that also happens to be a little magical maybe. One day as she strolls into her apartment, she finds this handsome southern chef of a man just in her kitchen. The only problem is that this man is 7 years in the past. And the story goes from there. It's beautiful, it's magical. Again, teaches you about grief and loss and what that entails to someone. There's also love in the most unexpected, paranormal way that you don't see coming. And it's just so beautiful. Another book that I recently finished was Accidentally Amy by Lynn Painter. This book was on my fall TBR last year and I didn't get to it, but I'm so glad that I got to it this year because it was so perfect. This book is not really heavy on the fall backdrop with the cozy vibes, but it is set in September in the fall season, and it does involve a lot of Starbucks and a pumpkin spice latte. As a matter of fact, our main character Izzy is having a little bit of a problem at the beginning of the story because she is patiently waiting for her pumpkin spice latte. It is September, it's the beginning of fall for her, and she's on her way to her very first day of her new job, her new career. She needs this latte as if her life depended on it. And when she hears the order of another customer by the name of Amy, who happens to have the same order as Izzy, Amy doesn't respond the third time. Izzy thought it was a great idea so that she's not late for work and she still has her pumpkin spice latte. She decides to just take Amy's order and pretend like she's Amy. Everything's all dandy until she is rushing out of the door and bumps into this very broad, very sexy man. She spills her coffee all over him. They have a connection, obviously. There's a very cute meet cute involved in this book. Everything is fine. She's attracted to this man, no problem. Until she meets the same man at her first day of work, who happens to be her boss. So this is meet cute, grumpy sunshine, friends to lovers romance with the setting of fall in the background. And it was fun, it was cute, it is insta-lovey, but when it comes to romances like this that are set in the fall and we got the pumpkin spice lattes, I don't mind insta-love. Like, I don't mind it. I also didn't mind the writing. I love the banter that these two characters had, and it was just so fun. There was some grammatical errors in the book, but I didn't care. I don't really care about that stuff. It doesn't like influence my reading at all. It was fun, it was sweet. It's also very steamy. I wasn't expecting that from Lynn Painter for some reason. I think this is one of my first Lynn Painter adult books I've read, so I have a lot to catch up on, but I had a very good time. The next book I want to talk to you guys about is You Again by Kate Goldbeck. I read this last year, I believe, and I fell madly in love with it. This book, if I had to simplify it, it's literally a reimagining, a retelling of When Mary Met Sally. In the same New York, Manhattan, during the autumn season, and it was perfect. The banter between these two characters was just top tier. We're following Ari and Josh meet at the most unsatisfying or at the most very unique circumstances. They meet because they happen to find out that they are dating the same woman. And of course, because of this encounter, which was negative in the beginning, they don't like each other. They become enemies. They just can't stand each other. But for some reason, this book takes a span of maybe 13 or 14 years. They seem to be bumping into each other a lot during this time frame at events, at Christmas parties, in possibly an adult store, out of all things. And it's just perfect. They have great banter. Ari is very sex positive. She can be messy, klutzy, and very vulgar, and it's so fun to banter with Josh because Josh is very uptight, clean cut, stubborn, firm, grumpy, just Mr. Know-It-All, and it's perfect. Their dynamic is beautiful to me. This story starts off with that encounter, obviously, and then there's a beautiful friendship that blossoms throughout the years. They decide to do things together, hang out together as friends, and then that friendship blossoms into romance, and it's beautiful. It's romantic because you don't see these two having any type of chemistry because they couldn't be further different, but it's just exceptional. Okay, exceptional. It's a beautiful contemporary romance about two people that meet under the weirdest circumstances but fall in love despite their differences, and it's just amazing. The last book that I want to talk to you guys about, I am not anywhere near finished with this book, but I wanted to mention it because it is part of a 7-book series, and the best part about this series, you guys, is that they're all steamy romances, or at least the first one is, and they're all set in the fall season. They're all contemporary romances, rom-coms, steamy, set in the fall season. We've got small town, we got billionaire, let me just talk about this book in particular because this is the one that I just started, and I'm glad I found it on TikTok. Nobody talks about the series. I don't know why. This is something that you should be reading in the fall. Fall I Want by Lyra Parrish, and this one is the first book in the Cozy Creek collection. This is a chunky one. The rest of the books are smaller. This one's over 480 pages, and I'm only on page 44, and I'm freaking loving it, okay? Our main character is a manager in a cozy coffee shop. This is set in the fall. We're in September or October. Our main male character is a broken-hearted billionaire who happens to live in this manor. It might be haunted. The way that they met, their first encounter, he was kind of the biggest dick to her. Like, he was not nice at all, and I just loved every single bit of it. Her name is Autumn. There's also a book club that comes and meets at the coffee shop once in a while, and it's ran by older ladies that read steamy books, I think. I'm sensing there's going to be a magical element in there, like maybe some magical realism, I don't know. But her best friend is the daughter of the coffee shop owners, and her and her sister and her best friend run this coffee shop, and it's just so cozy with the pastries and the coffee. And also her best friend Julie loves the fall. They describe her as having these cute outfits. She's got like skull earrings. I think she has purple hair. I don't remember, but it's so good, okay? So good. I know this is gonna be either a 4 or 5-star read because already I'm so invested, and I'm only on page 44. And the cover, if you look at the leaves are heart-shaped. This is just the most beautiful fall cover I've ever seen in my life. I am going to buy every single one of these books, and who knows, maybe I'll get to read every single one of these books so that next year I can talk about how amazing this series is and that you should be reading it too. I've never seen anybody else talk about this series. It says came out on 2024. Never heard of it, but they're all small town romances set in the fall. Okay, so you get all the fall things that you want in a book. You get coffee, bakery, you get maybe a bookstore, because one of her friends owns a bookstore, I think. You get creepy haunted mansions, you get grumpy sunshine, millionaire billionaires, okay? You get women that love the fall just as much as I do, or you do maybe. What more could you want? What more can you want to read in the fall? You know? Okay, so there you have it. Those are all the books that I have read, that I have loved, that are very heavily set in the fall, that give you the cozy feelings, that there's a little bit of witchery, there's talking animals, there's murder mysteries, there's small town romances, there's book clubs, bakeries, there's bookstores, there's everything you can ask for. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope you can put some of these on your autumn list, especially if you guys are wanting to read something cozy with magic and love and comfort and just the fall festivities, you know? I know I do. I don't know about this year, you guys. I think this year I'm going to be reading more of these books than I am any gothic dark horror books or dark romance books. I don't know. We'll see. But if this is not your thing, if you don't like cozy fall vibes in a book or romance, then stay tuned because I also have another video that'll be coming out that is part 2 of my fall recommendations video, and that one's going to be more geared towards our dark fantasy girlies, our dark romance girlies, with more of a darker backdrop or darker element, but yet still very atmospheric. We still have vampires and we still have witches, so stay tuned. So that's it for today's video. If you enjoyed this video, please don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button, and I will catch you on the next one. Bye.